it is that we're talking today is that we're talking about insurance, but we're particularly talking. I've got to talk from Adam. I've got Steve Cox here as well, and it's talking about a new product that they've got, or a rehash of a product they've got, which is rent guarantee insurance. We did a poll of members a while ago, about a month or so ago, and I was quite surprised to see that only about 20-25%, something like that, of members use rent guarantee insurance. So this is your good chance to ask Adam any questions about it. So Adam, the floor is yours. Describe what the product is and what the difference is.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Peter. So hello, everyone. I'm Adam Weedon-Luck, and I work for Allen Boswell Insurance Brokers. We provide landlords and rent guarantee insurance, as well as home, motor, commercial, and everything like that as well. But here, as Peter says, I'm here today to talk about the legal and rent guarantee cover and what we're doing to update the cover, because we do currently provide it, but there are some things that aren't as good about it as they used to be pre-pandemic. So we've taken a look at it, and we're going to relaunch from the 1st of September. The good news is the price is going to come down on those standalone products. The cover is going to be far more enhanced than it was before, and it's also going to have an in-house claim service. This has kind of always been a lacking point on the policy, is there's so many companies involved that the claims process does become a bit disjointed. So by bringing it all in-house, it's going to improve the service, no end on the cover. So I'll start off though, and I'll talk about why it's important to have legal and rent guarantee cover, the benefits of the policy, and why you really should be buying it. So legal and rent guarantee cover is an important tool for all landlords. It allows them to continue receiving rental payments should their tenant default on their rent. It's a difficult one because if you're paying a mortgage on that rental property, you need to know that you can still pay that mortgage should your tenant default. And with the eviction ban as well, it can be at least 6 months to get a tenant out of your property while they're not paying. So it does amount up to quite a considerable sum. We find many evictions are around 8 to 10 months. So on the average rent of about £1,000 a month, as well as your legal claim, your legal costs, the section notice, it's going to cost you between around £8,500 and £15,000 in lost income and solicitors' fees if your tenant stops paying their rent. And it's really why it's so important to have this cover. It's a really common occurrence as well. So especially since the pandemic hit, I think my figures are a bit loose, but I think there's around 350,000 tenants who are in arrears at the moment. So it's not like it's something that's never going to happen to you. There's a good chance it could happen. So really, what is the legal cover? What's the rent guarantee cover, and how does it benefit you? So like I said earlier, it will continue to pay those rental payments up to £2,500 a month while your tenant is in default. And it's one of the things we are enhancing on our present cover. So the cover at the moment will provide you with 12 monthly payments. But as I say, with that 6-month extension ban, there can be a delay on getting tenants evicted from the property. There's going to be a build-up of court in the court as well to see these cases. So we're extending that out to 15 months worth of cover, where we're paying that up to £2,500 a month while the tenant is still in the property. There's a couple of terms to that though. They do need to have missed 2 payments for the claim to be valid. So what that would mean is, as an example, 1st of September, the tenant misses their rent. You'd notify us that there's an issue, and the claim becomes valid on the 1st of October. That is then backdated to the 1st of September, but that 1st of October then gives us the ability to issue the Section 8 notice to start the eviction proceedings on your behalf. Another enhancement that we're bringing back, it's referred to as vacant possession cover, but it's misunderstood a lot. So vacant possession cover will be the 3 months worth of rent that you'll continue to receive after we've managed to evict the tenant. So your property may be dilapidated, it might be a slow market, you haven't managed to get a new tenant in the property. So we will pay 3 months worth of rent at up to 75% of the rental amount while the property is still empty. This is a cover we used to have pre-pandemic, but during the pandemic, it was a cover that was stripped back, but we're glad to say that we've got it back in. Most people think a legal and rent guarantee policy will just really be about eviction and rent guarantee, but there is a lot more to the policy as well. We cover things like health and safety prosecutions, repair and renovation disputes, tax protection if you're getting investigated, and any property legal disputes as well. And the legal cover is up to £100,000 and does also offer a legal helpline as well, where you can call that 24/7 just to get advice. So it is a really, really good policy, and it benefits you on multiple different scenarios. There are some criteria though to be able to take the policy. We don't just issue out a rent guarantee policy for everybody. Tenants do need to have met some sort of criteria to be able to take the policy out. The criteria really is that they need to be earning at least 2.5 times the monthly rent between them. So if you've got a couple in there and they're earning on a rent, say £1,000, they'd need to be earning £2,500 a month gross between them. They need to be clear of CCJs and bankruptcies for the last 3 years. And that means if they've settled a CCJ in the last 6 months, that they have to be settled for 3 years. It can't be that it happened 4 years ago and they've only just settled it now. It has to be clear for those 3 years. And a bit of enhancement on our new policy. We used to say that you need to have 2 forms of ID, one with a photo. We would still suggest that, but actually the right to rent checks would be acceptable now for the rent guarantee, which I believe you'll have to have done anyway to be able to rent the property out. So it's not something that you should be missing. There is some scope with outside of this as well, though. So if your tenant can't pass on any of those things, we can also issue the cover if you've got a guarantor who can pass those reference checks. The guarantor would need to go through exactly the same, but they need to be earning 3 times the rental amount. Then they need to be UK based, but they don't have to be a homeowner. That's a common question we get. Do they have to own their own home? The guarantor doesn't. They do need to have some sort of link though to the tenant. It can't be a guarantor company as such. They need to either be a friend, family, or an employer, something like that. Somebody's got a link to the tenant. The other option as well, if you've got a long-standing tenant in the property, we can do without the reference checks. They just need to be able to have paid the rent on time for the last 12 months. So they've made the payment, and on time, we would consider that within 31 days of the due date. So it's due on the 1st and it's paid by the 31st. That would be fine. And they've made those 12 payments on time. You wouldn't need to worry about the affordability, and you wouldn't have to worry about the credit checks, as long as you're not aware of any changes in circumstances. So if you're aware that your tenants obviously lost their job last week and not going to be affordable, you would need to re-reference them or advise them to get a guarantor. We get savings questions as well. Yep, if they're wealthy enough, they don't. Maybe we get it with self-employed tenants sometimes, where they just take dividends out of the company. If they've got 6 months worth of rent in a bank account for the last 6 months, that would also be deemed as an acceptable affordability criteria. We also, there's some important documents, but again, they're documents similar to the right to rent checks that you should be issuing. And it is a requirement of the policy, but it does get missed sometimes. So you need to make sure you've issued the how to rent guide. And if there's a tenancy renewal and you've done the tenancy renewal, you need to make sure you've prescribed the most recent how to rent guide as well. The gas safety certificate needs to have been issued, the EPC, and if you've taken a deposit, that needs to be protected. If you've got an insurance policy in lieu of a deposit, again, that's absolutely fine. Or if you've not taken a deposit at all, that would be okay. But it's just if you have taken that cash deposit, it does need to be protected. But again, like I said, this is all stuff you need to be doing by law anyway, so it shouldn't be coming as a surprise. We are asking for the electrical certificate because I believe if that one isn't in, it is coming soon. So onto claims. Like I said, we're bringing claims in-house. It used to be that there was lots of different channels. You'd report the claim, it would go to one person, it would then go to another person, and then it would go on to the solicitors. By bringing it in-house, we're going to be speeding up the claims process. We're going to be more hands-on and advising you what documents you need to produce and making that payment a lot quicker for you. The key criteria is you need to be, the tenants missed their rent. Within 7 to 10 days, you need to be notifying the tenant to say they have missed that rental payment. Just to establish, are they intending to pay it, or is there something else going on? And then within 60 days, you need to be reporting the claim to us to say, yep, there's an issue here. I'd like to make a claim on my rent guarantee policy. Obviously, if you make it sooner than that, within those by 31 days, you'll get your payment quicker, but it does need to be reported within 60 days to avoid any excess period or payments being missed. It's an online claim form, but we have an in-house expert who will then go through the claim with you if there's anything being missed or any questions, and they will be going through that with you. There's a few things that we get as regular questions, I guess, and I'd like to cover those off with you. HMOs, we can cover HMOs, but on HMOs, there's a couple of different scenarios. If you've got everybody on the same tenancy agreement, we wouldn't advise to take a rent guarantee policy. We'd steer you more to the legal expenses policy. The reason being is because the rent needs to be 2 months worth of rent in arrears. If you've only got one tenant avoiding or not paying their rent out of 5 people, they would have to miss 10 rental payments to become a valid legal rent guarantee claim. I think we've got a question. Sorry, so 6 months in the bank for self-employed. Does it have to be in the bank account, or will you accept liquid savings, say deposit account or ISA? ISA will be fine. It's just something that you can get the cash out of, basically. So if you've got it tied up in property or something which would require you selling a property, we wouldn't be able to do that. It just needs to be cash that the guarantor gets asked for it or the tenant gets asked for it, and they can produce that money straight away. So if it's in a ISA or something like that, that would be absolutely fine. I hope that answers the question. Also, with self-employed, it's not just savings. We can accept an accountant's reference to say they're affordable for the rent, or the self-assessment tax form, again, showing that they're 2.5 times the rental amount. They would be also acceptable for self-employed tenants. We can accept tenants on benefits as well, and tenants on pensions. You just need to be able to show that they've got that income of 2.5 times, and that can be made up by part-time work and benefits, or pension and benefits, something like that. It's just to show they're getting enough income. So if I go back onto the question, say HMOs I was discussing, they're all on the same tenancy agreement. We wouldn't advise taking a rent guarantee because you'll never receive those payments. Legal expenses would be the way to go. You'd still get the eviction process, the section notice, and that's just the way we advise it. If they're all on their own tenancy agreement, absolutely fine. You just need a rent guarantee policy per tenancy. The policy is per tenancy or on the property. So if you've got a tenant in a property, they move out, and you've never got another tenant moves in, the policy will automatically transfer onto that new tenant, provided they've passed referencing. So yeah, you wouldn't be without cover. You don't think, oh, I've got 6 months short hold tenancy, they're going to move out, I'll be paid 6 months for no reason. You can move it on to the next tenants. Another common misconception is if you've got an existing claim on a policy, there's no requirement to renew the policy until the claim is settled. So you make a claim month 11, you wouldn't need to renew that month 12 to continue receiving those payments. You'll get the full benefit of the policy all the way through on that existing policy, and then you can look at setting up a new policy once there's a new tenant in the property. The policy does require you, though, to be following for eviction for the payments to be made out. It's not just a policy where tenants will just sit in the property not paying and you can just happily leave them there. You do need to be actively looking to get the tenants out of the property, but as I say, we will issue the Section 8 notice on your behalf. We can also provide cover for company lets as well, but this is only in certain scenarios. It's where your employer has rented a property to put their employee into that house, and then the reference check needs to go against the employer. We don't do shops or subletting right to rent to rent. They're not things that will be covered under the policy, but we can do employers putting employees into a property. Although the policy is capped at £2,500 a month, if you're lucky enough to have a property which is coming in more than £2,500 a month, you can still have the cover, but you'll only get that £2,500 towards the rent. So it's a case of better to get something rather than nothing, and also your legal costs as well associated with getting the tenants out of the property. We don't prescribe who you use for the referencing, so it's not a case of So I know some rent guarantee schemes will say you have to use our referencing servicing. As long as your referencing company has done what we've asked on those 3 criterias, then it's absolutely fine for you to use whoever you want to take the rent guarantee. That's due to launch on the 1st of September. Currently, we're charging 225, including the insurance premium tax. The cost of cover is coming down to 215, including the insurance premium tax. So not only are you getting the wider cover and the better service, you're also getting a reduced price. Although you can get a further reduced price actually if you take the cover alongside one of our landlord's insurance policies. The cover then comes down to £160 for the year. So you're making a saving there of at least £55 off the rent guarantee. We've got price beat guarantee on our landlord's insurance. So that's probably the best first option to look at. Landlord's insurance with the rent guarantee, because then you're getting all the covers that the landlord insurance will provide as well, the loss of rent, any storm, flood, fire damage to your property, accidental damage and malicious damage. So it's always the best way to go first, to quote for landlord's insurance with an added rent guarantee policy on the side. I think that covers off most of the things I was looking to talk about on it. If there's any questions there, I'll be happy to answer those.
Thanks for that, Adam. We've got one question coming from Patrick. Would the monthly earnings amount need to be net or gross? Was the question?
It's gross amount.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much.
Just a couple of questions I made there, or not questions, but just a couple of points, Adam. Sorry, Steve here from Alan Boswell's. Excess. So I think on our previous policy there was nil excess. Sorry, there was a 1 month excess. Now it's now a nil. Sorry, that's right.
Yeah. So we've got it's a completely nil excess policy. As Steve said, it used to be nil excess on the rent guarantee and eviction side of the policy, but it used to have an excess on the legal aspect, the property legal disputes, and also on the legal expenses only policy. If the tenant couldn't pass referencing, there was an excess there as well. But we've taken out every excess from the policy, so it's nil excess for everything, unless you're reporting the claim after 60 days. Then you'll be having a month's excess deducted there, because actually we could have had the claim being dealt with sooner than that. So you will get a excess if you report it between 60 and 90 days. With regards to the legal expenses only, if you do have a tenant that can't pass referencing, you can still take that legal expenses only policy. And the cost of cover on the legal expenses only is going to be £60 as a standalone, or £40 if you're connecting it to your landlord's insurance. And as I say, that will still carry out all your eviction costs. And it does have a stipulation in there that actually we can pursue the tenant for rental payments if there's at least a 51% chance of succeeding in that claim.
Can I just also ask, you said that the rate drops to 160 if it's taken out at the same time as the other landlord insurance. If someone's already got the landlord insurance, so you know, there's quite a few members do have, and they're just renewing it year on year on year. It's been running for, just say for the sake of argument, 6 months, and then they now wish to take out the rent guarantee. What rate applies?
So it'll be the 215 to start with.
Yeah.
But then if they look to move the policy back to us in, say, 6 months' time, when they come round to renew the rent guarantee, we'd renew it on the lower rate, and we'd then tie the renewal dates up as well. So you'd be paying a prorated amount on the connected rate that will go through to then have a common renewal date the year after.
Okay, all right.
Another one I just want to ask or mention as well, about if a tenant's currently in situ in the property.
Yep.
So can we include them? Yep.
Yep. So if they're currently in situ, you can take the cover. There's a 60-day exclusion period at the beginning of the tenancy, also at the beginning of the policy. This is just to avoid a landlord being aware the tenant's lost their job and they're going to need to make a claim. But there's say 60-day exclusion period. It doesn't count though if you've got a policy elsewhere and you're renewing it to us, or it's a new one at the new tenancy. It's just those mid tenancies with no previous cover.
Just to reiterate, you will do the Section 8 notice, will you? You will actually serve the Section 8 notice.
We will do. We will do the Section 8 notice for you. I know Section 8 notices can be quite difficult to do. The judge will look for a reason to throw it out if it's incorrect. So we've taken it on board so that we will do the section notice, so that when it gets to court, there won't be a reason for the judge to then throw it out.
But if the person with the policy, if the policyholder needs representation at court, are you able to help them there, or was there an additional charge?
No, it's included in the policy up to the £100,000. If in a very rare instance, which we do require you to be represent or join us in court on a case, we do to pay attendance expenses as well, but it's a very rare occurrence that will ever happen.
Yeah, because what's happening these days is quite a lot of them are being done as a conference, so sometimes they're being sorted out before they even get to court.
Yeah, so
which is good.
Yeah, so if a claim does get settled prior to getting to court, again, that's absolutely fine. We'll just stop the payments once the tenant's evicted, close off the claim, and then pay those vacant possession payments until you've got the property relet. But yeah, it doesn't have to go through court for the claim to pay out, as long as you're working towards that point. Obviously, if you're working on mediation as well, it's always advisable, and the tenant manages to catch themselves up on rent, again, we can close the claim off. The back rent would need to be paid back to us, but then the policy will still be valid in case something else happens. So it's not a case of every single claim will lead to the tenant being evicted. If they can get themselves back on the feet, we're happy to work with tenants getting back in the property.
Okay, and I was interested to see that you need to see all the documentation, because normally you don't need that for a Section 8. You do need it for a Section 21, but you're asking for it anyway, are you? So you see, etc.
Yeah, we need to see all the how to rent guides being issued. Yep, the deposits being protected, the parcel referencing.
Only in the event of a claim, not when the policy is taken out. Only in the event of a claim being made. We don't need to see it beforehand. But
yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just by the way, for your point, the electrical installation certificates, etc., actually commence from April.
Okay.
All rental property now need it, although it's not asked for with a Section 21 at the moment. I'm waiting to take out 2 rent guarantee policies today. Would they be upgraded on the 1st of September? If not, what would I be losing out on?
Unfortunately not. So we're just waiting for the new insurers, because we are swapping insurers. It won't automatically get upgraded. It will be upgraded at renewal though. So the sections you're really missing out on is, say, you will have 12 months worth of rental payments rather than 15 months, and you won't be getting that 3-month vacant possession cover. They're the main things that you won't be benefiting from.
But that would be upgraded on September the 1st.
So no, it'll be upgraded when they come to renew it. It's because they're 2 different insurers. If it was the same insurer, we could probably upgrade the cover, but we're moving insurers, so unfortunately not.
Okay. Sorry, Patrick, you've got to take a decision when you're willing to risk it for 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, and take it out on September the 1st. So
just remember, you've got a 60-day exclusion period if you do that.
Oh, because it's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. A decision to be made there. Right. We've got no more questions coming in at the moment. I'm just reading my notes. It's all good stuff. I mean, as Steve is only too well aware of, what I would be very keen to see is some kind of insurance which would cover the need to take a deposit. And I feel that this rent guarantee insurance, along with the standard landlord insurance, goes a long way there, because this covers the rent, as you've been saying, and the standard landlord's insurance covers malicious damage. I'm going to ask Steve to comment on this in a minute. The only thing that's missing is if you need to get cleaning done. So if the property is in such a state that the only way to return it to the inventory condition is by cleaning, then at the moment there's no insurance that covers that. So Steve, you got any bright ideas on that? I don't think
so. Yeah, I mean, obviously malicious damage is covered under the main insurance policies, under the buildings insurance, buildings and contents. Malicious damage caused by a tenant as well, all covered under the policy, subject to an excess. Yeah, cleaning costs. Obviously, if a client makes a claim for under the malicious damage section under the buildings insurance, obviously cleaning costs would get taken into account. but there is an excess. Obviously, there is an excess to pay. I think under for malicious damage by a tenant, it's £1,000 at the moment. So the excess is so yeah, just any damage caused by the tenant. It's got to go get, and it's got to be malicious damage, not just general lifestyle wear and tear, things like that. It's got to be classed as malicious damage. So it's got to be a sort of a one-off event that's happened, fist through the walls or things, something like that, or rip pipes off the walls and things like that. So it's got to be a one-off event. If a client makes a claim for that, then they can obviously include the cost of repairing the property. Yes, of course.
We do provide an excess protect policy as well, don't we? So that could help to reduce that excess. Yes.
Thank you, Adam. Yes, they do. Yeah. So obviously, as Adam said, thank you for that. You can take out the excess protect policy. So, in the event of you making a claim on a policy on your building's insurance policy, you can basically insure your excess. So if you claim on your building's insurance for damage caused, you've got £1,000 excess, and you've got cover, and you've taken this excess protect cover out, you can claim your excess back from this extra cover. So it's something else to think about as well. It's not included as standard under the policy, but it can be added on.
Is it unusual for? I mean, I was really surprised when I heard that it included malicious damage by a tenant. Is that?
A lot of companies don't include it. A lot of companies will not include it at all. Some will specifically exclude damage caused by anyone legally in the property. So we've got, it's a good extra that we've got onto our policy. So if you're not insured with us, come and have a word with us. Or just make sure that you've got the malicious damage caused by a tenant section. Obviously, there is a higher excess for that as opposed to the standard excess, but this can include things like tenants turning the properties into cannabis factories, things like that. I mean, the cost for that can just be in the tens, hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of damage. So
I think also on that point, Steve, it's worth mentioning that if it has been turned into a cannabis factory, there's every likelihood that the police will take the property and you might re-let it for several months before you could even start making good the damage.
So in that situation, obviously, Adam's been talking about the rent guarantee. This would then, your loss of rent under the buildings insurance policy, your loss of rent aspect would then kick in. So you can't let the property as it's uninhabitable following an insured claim. So you could then claim for your lost rent that you haven't been receiving. So it's it's a good point.
Right, we've got a couple of questions. I think you've answered the first one, but is the policy transferable to a new tenant if you have a change of tenant during the year? Will the new policy be required? So I think you've already answered that one, haven't you? So
no, it's transferable between tenancies. So old tenant moves out, new one moves in. As long as they're past referencing, you're good to go.
Yep. And one would hope that it's worth just mentioning to people that you need to make sure you've done all the referencing, etc., before you make the offer. So don't make the offer and don't sign on the dotted line and then do the referencing. Otherwise, you're going to have problems there, aren't you? So, is excess protect policy similar to what is provided by Go Compare for car insurance excess? This is one for you, Steve. So
I'm guessing it. I'm guessing it is. Yes. Without knowing exactly what the Go Compare product is, yes, it will be. So So I assume on the Go Compare one, it's just if you make a claim, you can claim your excess back.
Yeah.
And if it is that, then it's exactly the same as that. Yes. Yeah.
So, all right, okay. No more questions coming at the moment. So, what sort of things are you finding in the insurance world at the moment with property, Steve? So, particularly following COVID, and I mean, we have been finding a lot of people who have been furloughed or whatever, and we've had reports of an awful lot of tenants who are just basically folding their arms, saying, "I'm not going to pay." And our recommendation is, as well as doing a Section 8 where they do go in the 2 months in arrears, is to do a money claim online, but you don't have to do any of that with your nice new insurance, do you? So
not with this one. No, as you say, this is exactly what this sort of thing covers. If they're not paying the rent, as Adam said, though, that it needs to go down the eviction route. So a lot of people take it out just on the off chance that if their tenants aren't paying their rent, it's just they've got a bit of a backup thing. Whereas with this, obviously with the rent guarantee, they do need to go down the eviction route. So you've got to think about it before you take it out. But from an insurance point of view, there's nothing new as such in the market. It's pretty much as was from a buildings insurance perspective. Obviously, we all need insurance. No one wants it. No one wants it. No one wants to pay for it. But it's one that we all need. As always said, if you're not insured with us, please just come and have a word with us. Obviously, if you're members of iHouse, which you all are, there's discounts involved. There's discounts involved for your buildings, contents, whatever insurance that you may need. Car insurance, house insurance, your own personal stuff. We can arrange all of that. I mean, buildings insurance, it's just a must, and it's not an expensive thing to take out. Obviously, no one wants to use it. None of us want to use insurance in the event of a claim, but the cover's there, and should you need it, the cover it's a 5-star rated product that we're offering here for the buildings insurance. So yeah, it's a no-brainer, really. It's a no-brainer. But yeah, if you're not insured with us, come and have a word. There's no issues if you don't take it out, but you've got nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose.
Yeah, get a quote.
iHouse will earn that. Well, iHouse will earn a commission out of it as well.
Yep.
Well, they will earn out something out of it as well. But you will also get your iHouse discount if you come to us as well. So
a win-win situation.
Yes, exactly right.
Just going back to Adam for a moment, and just talking about the rent guarantee insurance. We always recommend to members that if they're going down the Section 8 route, they really need to be writing letters to the tenant to inform them what they're doing, because the courts don't like the landlord to remain silent and then suddenly issue a Section 28. It's 28. This was Section 8. So, Adam, would you recommend that they do that, or do you just do the Section 8, or what else?
We always say we advise make contact with tenant within those 7 to 10 days just to establish, are they looking to pay the rent, or if you're struggling to actually get hold of them, actually it's probably a bad sign that they're not going to pay the rent. Yeah. But if they're open to mediation, they're saying, well, we're going to struggle by a couple of £100 this month, but we'll try and make it up. It's always good to have that open communication with the tenants, but still report the claim to us. You're not going to be penalised for reporting the claim. We can always close it off without a claim being needed to be made. And as Peter said, actually the courts will look beneficially on it if you've tried to mediate with the tenant to try and come up with some sort of payment plan, but still just remember to report the claim at first instance. But yeah, if it does get to a point where the tenant is just not going to pay, yeah, we'll issue the Section 8 notice. They would have already had the open dialogue with yourself, and it will go through to the eviction, bailiffs if needed, yeah, courts.
All right, okay, I've got a couple of questions that's come in.
I say, Sheena, your £5 is in the post.
This is, I'll read it out because not everyone can see it, but I've been insured with Boswell for 5 years. I put in a claim when someone drove it to the front garden wall. The claim process was so easy and the staff were helpful. Were you off that day, Steve?
So very helpful. So yes, I must have been.
I got my acres back as I had the policy. I was really impressed. I mean, I always say to people, because I train landlords, and I always say to people, it's no good having cheap insurance if it's not going to pay out. And even better, it needs to pay out, you know, when you want it to, not sort of a long time afterwards. You're not going to jump through hoops. And quite honestly, that comment from Sheena, thank you very much for it, Sheena, is not untypical. So, you know, if you get a very cheap insurance, well, it might not work for you when you come to use it.
That's the reason that anyone pays their insurance. That's for in the event of a claim. That's no other reason whatsoever. So yeah, that's lovely to hear. Thank you.
And that's the reason why we're bringing the claims in-house for rent guarantee as well. It's to make sure that actually claims are not being kicked out for petty reasons. We want to pay the claims, and we want to be able to pay them quickly as well, so we can make that judgment in-house. We're not going to be waiting for somebody else to be looking into the files. That was the big reason for bringing it in-house, to give that added claim service.
Yeah, and again, I'll just read one out because not everyone can see it. How easy is it to get a quote for commercial premise? And Steve's replied, very easy, send him an email. And he'll if you want to send me an email or give me a call, or I can give you a call, Patrick. Yep, it's very, very similar to a residential property. Possibly can't do that online as such, but I'm more than happy to have a look at it for you, whatever insurance that you may need. So yeah, please just get in touch. I know quite a few of our members do have commercial, so it is worth thinking about. Hang on, my next message is off the bottom of my screen. So yeah, quite. Boswell stepped in after we were burgled, and loss adjuster supported insurance, tried to restrict a third full payment made. So yeah, again, I mean, we've got in-house claims guys in the office. We've got an in-house claims sort of loss adjuster as well, purely helping out in the event of this sort of issue. Should the loss adjuster be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Just try and stick by the guns. A bit awkward. Just it. That's good word. Good word. We will step in and do everything that we possibly can to get you the right cost. The right claims cost back. So well, the loss adjuster tends to be on the insurer's side. They do. Yes. Yeah. They are supposed to be working for both parties, but sometimes they will come down on. Just to mention, while we're at it, eviction notices are still a little bit complicated. Just to reiterate what I've been saying, which is whether you've got rent guarantee insurance or whatever, you must stay on top of your rent and make sure they're coming in on a regular basis. During the whole of this process, you've been able to write letters. You've even been able to serve Section 8s or Section 21s. The difference has been, first of all, they've not been able to go to court, and also that the periods have been extended. So just to make it clear to people, as from yesterday, actually, as from August the 1st, the Section 8 notice is now gone down to 2 months' notice. It's due to go to 2 weeks' notice in October the 1st. Whether or not it happens, we wait to see. The Section 21 is now 4 months, and it's due to go down to 2 months on October the 1st. So we do urge people, whether you've got rent guarantee insurance or not, do go the Section 8 route. Because I know a lot of people don't like doing it because it needs going to court, etc., etc. But if you paid your money for the rent guarantee, then it's well worth it. Quite frankly, well worth it, because that money, if you didn't have the rent guarantee, it would cost you that money to get a solicitor to go to court for you. So but obviously with insurance, as we always say, well, as Steve has quite rightfully say, you're almost paying money hoping you never have to use it. So we wait to see. We've got no more questions, I don't think. No more questions, nothing coming in there. So just want to mention a couple of things while we've got everybody on, which is that next Tuesday the 10th, we're doing a training session again. So hopefully people will be interested in coming on that. It's a virtual one. So you don't have to leave your house. It's all done by Zoom, a bit like this. So I know we've got a couple of people on who have done it in the past. So if anyone wants to make a comment about it, how good, bad or indifferent it is, then please do so. Be grateful. But I've been doing this course a very long time. I've trained a lot of people over this time. And I've only once had someone who says I didn't learn anything. But he was a bit obstropolous. So, there's a lot to know and a lot to take in. So I would urge you to do that. And then for the meeting we've got next month, which is, let's check my diary, because I do old-fashioned paper diary. September the 6th, we will be having a conversation with the current president of ALA, Maxine Fothergill. Steve knows Maxine as well as I do. So, yeah. Now that won't actually be a live interview, unfortunately, because of the nature of her business. She's obviously got her own company as well. She's flying around all over the country at the moment. So I could not get a Monday date out of her at all before about, I don't know, in the next 5 years, I think it was. So I shall actually be recording that on the 25th of August. So if anybody's got any questions that they wish to present to the president of ALA, then please send them to me and I will present them. So Adam, you got a question? Do you want to pick up on that question that's just come in?
Yes, so that's the one about the gas certificate and up to date.
So do you want to read it out first, because not everyone can see it? So
yes, so sorry, it's just a recap regarding the required documents. The tenant must have been served. On renewal, do I have to serve them gas certificates and up-to-date right to rents again? So you don't have to redo the right to rent or reissue the gas certificate unless obviously the gas certificate's expired. But you do need to make sure that they are still affordable. Well, you don't need to check they're affordable. If you're aware they've become unaffordable, you do need to re-reference them. Or if they've missed payments during the year over that 31-day period, you do need to re-reference them again. And like I say, if you're reissuing the tenancy agreement, I think you do need to reissue the how to rent guide if it's changed. But I think Peter will probably know a bit more than I do.
It's an odd situation with the how to rent guide. Thank you, Patrick. It's a really odd situation with the how to rent guide. You've got the how to rent guide itself, and you've got the notes which go with it. And you've also got the law as it stands. In the how to rent guide, it recommends you reserve it if it changes. In the law, it says you don't have to reserve it. So it's a really odd one. So we do recommend to people that they do reserve it. And as you've inferred there, Adam, you're supposed to present the how to rent guide at the time the tenancy started. So if it started a while ago, you should have issued you should have the old how to rent guide. So when you serve it, keep it.
Yep.
But we always thank you very much, Christine. I can recommend Peter's one-day course. It was excellent. Thank you very much. That's another £5 in the post. So yeah, so do keep them. But on the other side of the coin, with all these documents, the how to rent guide, the Section 8 notice, the Section 21 notice, don't keep them on your computer. Always go up to the website to get them new every time, because they might change. We had some confusion with the how to rent guide last week before, that we were told by the housing ministry that it'd been changed. So we told all our members there's a new one. When we looked at it, we couldn't see any difference. One of our eagle-eyed members spotted that the actual guide hadn't changed. They put an easy to read guide alongside it, which you don't have to serve. So, got to be careful. Right, how does a landlord prove that requirement docs has been served? So this is, I presume, Eric, this is with the documents at the commencement of the tenancy. If you use the tenancy agreement that we've got, at the tail end of the tenancy agreement, after they sign the actual agreement, so in legal terms, these are separate documents. In Word, it's the same document, but in legal terms, they're separate documents. You've got two further documents. One is the privacy statement. You must make sure you serve that to say why you're keeping the data on that tenant. But the other one is a receipt from the tenant to say that they've had all these documents served on them. And also, furthermore, you need to make sure that they're served. And you need to know this one as well, Adam. The gas certificate needs to be served on the tenant before they occupy the property. Now, that's only if you're going to do a Section 21. It's fine for a Section 8, because the judge doesn't need to see the gas certificate at the moment. But if they get rid of the Section 21, we all fear that all these documents you've got to provide for the Section 21 will just go on to the Section 8. So you still need to make sure that you serve them and serve them correctly. And as Eric says there, make sure you can prove it. Anything you do with your tenant, always keep proof, always have a paper trail, because you have to assume you're going to be going to Adam to make a claim, or you're going straight to court or whatever. But 98% of the time you're not, so everything's fine. So if we've got no more questions, so just to repeat that we've got the training next Tuesday. You know, be delighted. We've still got space on it, so be delighted for people to come on to that. Steve, I think you ought to come on for the day.
Might well do, Peter. Yes, yeah. Yeah. I know that Peter came in. He came down. He came up to Norwich, and you gave a presentation to all our staff here, all our landlord staff here, on the basic training information, and it was very, very, very well received. So I'd recommend you all do it if you haven't done it already.
Thank you very much.
Can I have my five? Can I have my five now?
You're doing well for money at the moment, aren't you?
We are indeed. Yes, we are.
Yeah, and just to repeat that we got the president of Arla next month, but I'll be seeing her on the 25th. So questions, please. So Eric's saying he thought that the requirement showed the gas certificate tenant had been repealed. No, it's gone to appeal at the moment. Unless you know something I don't know, I'm not aware that it's not being repealed, because the trouble is it's in the law states that it's got to be presented, but it's no great shakes to make sure that you get the receipt and you get the proof before they occupy the property. And so what this receipt says basically is they sign up to everything, absolutely everything, the electrical certificate, the right to rent, etc., etc., before they occupy the property. So that's the best way of doing it. Right, well, thank you very much for all of that, Adam and Steve. So all good stuff. Always difficult trying to put insurance across, isn't it? So
it's not the easiest or the most exciting, no.
No, but it is a necessary evil, quite frankly. You know, it's like everything else in this world. Come the day you want it, you'll be thinking, oh, I really wish I'd done that route.
Yep. You're not
there
wrong.
You go. There you go. And in the meantime, you are paying for Steve's tropical island, aren't you, sir?
So you're breaking up a bit there, Peter.
Right, okay, no more questions. So we'll call it a day. So thank you very much to you, Steve, and thank you very much to you, Adam.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks,
all right.
Thank
and bye from now. I'll see you again.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.